Hello my fair dragons and welcome back to my channel Where the Dragons Gather. Today we are gathering to see the continuation of the Snow White and Seven Cryptids playthrough. Full disclosure, it did not record my voice again and I kept telling myself, oh, you should check this because I'd moved to my desktop. And do you think I did? Do you think I followed my instincts? No, because of course I didn't. Because if I was in a horror movie, I would absolutely be the person that went upstairs to investigate the noise instead of leaving the house and phoning the police. Because that is the kind of person I am. I ignore my instincts. So this is going to be a playthrough of me just talking over the top, trying to remember what I did. So this is going to be entertaining. So my fair dragons, if you want to stick around for this one, good luck. Thank you, my loves. So I started out playing as Luna, who was trying to do the werewolf diplomacy thing, which apparently means touching people's faces. I have no idea why. Also, please don't ask me why they're both holding drinks like they're in a soap opera. I have no idea. But she kept getting rejected, basically. Every single time I tried to get her to do werewolf diplomacy, people were just like, no, not going to do that. Which is ridiculous, coming from a mermaid and a fairy. Both of whom are quite known through history, or legends, as not being the best of reputations around people, shall we say. And an alien, although Hugh actually did eventually accept her. It did take a while. Like, they were literally doing this for hours. Literally hours. Then Christoph turned up at the house for some reason. I'm not quite entirely sure why. And then, as is come to be tradition with these videos, the plumbing set light to itself and tried to kill one of my Sims. I wish it would stop. Having been traumatized by the toilet and by her roommates who wouldn't accept her, I then sent Luna out to try and make friends with other werewolves because that's part of her aspiration, is that she has to have conversations with 4 werewolf friends. I found this beautifully dressed werewolf and proceeded to try and make friends with them. Then later, for no reason at all, Vlad turned up at the werewolf bar in Moonwood Mill. I don't know why he was there, but he left pretty quickly, thankfully, because I really wasn't dealing with Vlad today. I just couldn't. I had enough of him. He keeps biting my Sims. I'm done. I don't know. Am I making extra tasty Sims or something? Because Vlad is obsessed. Then for some reason, my Sim decided to make some friends on the toilet while she was doing a cross stitch. Because why not? That is the world we live in. And then I realised I'd run out of time to play with Luna, so I had to swap to another Sim, meaning that Luna made very little progress towards her aspiration again. I wish I hadn't picked werewolf. It's such a hard aspiration to do when you're not playing with that Sim constantly. As you can see, Merlin was absolutely thrilled that I picked him to be the next Sim to play with. And once again, I sent him off on a school field trip to the Magic Realm. Although it doesn't look like I'm trying to get him a jumper off the waterfall here. I was actually admiring the waterfall and thinking, I wish we had these in game that we could build. I was actually quite in a bad mood with Merlin because he upset Luna, and I have a real soft spot for Luna. I know I shouldn't have favourites, but I do. And he was mean to her, and he upset her, and I was kind of in a bad mood with him, but I kind of had to make him do his aspiration, so I wasn't that mean to him. There was a lot of temptation there to be really horrible, like make him hang around with Silver Sweater all day, but I decided to be nice and just focus on getting his magic up, mostly because it might benefit me later if I can bring back Crimson and Snow. Got super excited when I saw Necro Call, but apparently it doesn't do what I hoped it would. It doesn't bring Sims back from the dead, it just brings you zombies, which I'm not going to lie was kind of disappointing. I did punish Merlin a little bit by making him hang out with Silver Sweater. Unfortunately, that backfired on me because he learnt Delicio, which means he can now conjure up delicious meals from nothing. I've made this man's life easier when I was trying to punish him for being mean to Luna. Next up was Hugh. Hugh was absolutely exhausted by the idea that I was taking over his life, so he went straight to sleep. Once he woke up, I made Hugh knit until his fingers bled. But I think we could all agree it was worth it when Hugh finally got to wear his orange tiger beanie. Look at him. Even he's impressed. I then had Hugh show off his knitwear to Merlin, who was absolutely green with envy, I'm sure, because look how good Hugh looks in this cute little outfit. I mean, the man is really pulling this off. It's adorable. Then, unfortunately, poor Luna went on a rampage, which Hugh found incredibly distracting. I mean, for goodness sakes, man, just lock yourself in your bedroom and knit. Then you don't have to see the rampage. How hard is it? I mean, he literally kept putting himself in the way. What was Luna supposed to do? I feel this is completely on Hugh. I'd also at this point switched to Pearl. And of course, all my Sims are completely sad at the moment because why wouldn't they be? Why would they be happy in the lovely little home that I built them as I try to make their dreams come true? Why would they be happy? Pearl had just finished fixing the fridge and discovering she hated the handiness skill when suddenly a fire broke out. It was so unexpected. that the toilet set light to itself again. I've stopped buying new toilets at this point. It's just not worth it. Got this amazing image of Merlin running away though, which is just absolutely fantastic to me. That's what you get for being mean to Luna. Made Pearl do some dancing to try and get one of her skills up to try and complete some more of her aspiration. Just going to ignore that embarrassed mood that down there she missed the toilet with all the chaos that was going on. Shortly after that, it was time to swap to Phobos. You have no idea how nice it was to see a sim that didn't have a sad moodlet and was actually in a good mood, or at least inspired. Wasn't much to do with Phobos because it was mostly just cutting and grafting, and unfortunately my orchid and pomegranate plant weren't in the right state at the moment to be grafted onto one another, so that meant that I was left just grafting random plants onto random plants just to complete the aspiration. I will get round to making a death plant, I just didn't get the opportunity to do it today because the plant wasn't ready for whatever reason. Then it was Faye's turn and she was asleep when I started to play with her. And I initially got confused about the aspiration and made her do some painting before realising that's actually a promotional task, not an aspiration task. Did get her to do Fairy Bloom, I think it's called, on the plants nearby, so that helped towards the aspiration at least once I'd stopped her from painting. Went to try and find some people with ailments to cure before realising that she can actually give people ailments. Unfortunately, by the time I realised that, it was time to swap to Crimson. I essentially spent my whole time with Crimson forcing them to study to become a better vampire because that's pretty much all the aspiration is at this point. So every time Crimson tried to put the book down, I made them pick the book back up and keep reading. To say Crimson hated me by the end of this is probably an understatement. It paid off though. A mechanic I haven't explained for this playthrough is that as Snow is technically past, shall we say, the Queen's mission is kind of over. The whole point was to remove Snow as a threat. Snow is no longer a threat because she is shuffled off the mortal coil. She can't rule the kingdom as a ghost. So until such time as Snow is returned to the land of the living, I am going to play with Snow and I'm going to drop the Queen coming round to give Snow apples because there'd be no point. The Queen has achieved her goal. As far as she's concerned, Snow is no longer a problem. So that gives me a chance to play with Snow. And once, I guess they say, once Snow becomes human again, then I will start that up again. But hopefully by that point, Snow will either be in university or have a job. So that gives me more opportunity for Snow to be unavailable when the Queen pops around, giving me more opportunities to actually progress the playthrough with the main character. So I started with the Friend of the World aspiration because I feel winning people over through friendship is a good way to start to pull them away from Brayburn. Offering them fear and loathing versus friendship and love, I think they're going to eventually choose friendship and love. And Snow being the kind of ruler that's in touch with her people would also be helpful. I'm going to ignore the fact she's cosplaying Hell at the moment because that's not relevant. The aspiration also requires the charisma skill, which I thought would be quite useful. Being good at talking seems like the kind of thing that a ruler needs to be able to do. And I thought it might help towards the aspiration that I've eventually got in mind for her, which is the free world job track. So I'm assuming charisma is going to be useful for that as well. So it does play into the later game as well. It's not just arbitrarily chosen for no reason. Also, I did try to get her to put the fire out because she was the only one who couldn't be affected by it. But she just stood there like a lemon and then eventually ran off. Sent her out into the big wide world to try and make friends with other people as part of the aspiration. That did go quite well, in fairness. Made her speak to this poor gentleman because he couldn't escape, so therefore he had to be friends with her. Then worked on the charisma skill because I feel that it's important to be able to convince your people to go into battle for you. And I felt the charisma skill would be quite useful for that. And that's the end of the video, my loves. I'm sorry, I know it's like 6 minutes long, maybe 10 minutes long. I'm really, really sorry. I just messed up so much with the recording and it just didn't make sense to try and go back and redo it because I'd already saved. I thought about skipping it and I thought, well, that's a bit of a cheat as well. Not a lot happened, so I don't feel too bad about making a shorter video, but I do feel bad about just skipping over it entirely and then suddenly all my Sims have jumped forwards a little bit in aspirations and things. It just feels like I could be cheating in the background, which I'm not, and I just want to make it clear I'm not. This is my best way of doing that. So anyway, my fellow dragons, thank you so much for bearing with me with this one. New video where I've actually got audio should be out soon, and I'm also going to be releasing another video that's not related to this playthrough but is Sims related, and it's another book review That should be out shortly. I've done the audio for that, remarkably, and I just need to do the playthrough now and get that recorded, and that should be up at some point too. If you don't hear from me for a little bit, it's because Pokemon ZA is coming out, and I am obsessed with Pokemon, so of course I bought it. But I shouldn't let that interfere with my video content that's coming out to you guys. So I hope you take care of yourselves, my fair dragons, and if you're into Pokemon ZA, then I hope your favourite Pokemon is coming back for that game and will be released for you to play with. And I hope you take care of yourselves, my loves, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye, my fellow dragons.